Nelson attacking. Oh, we just got the full Nelson on a major rack attack. Wow.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Roll Tide Rundown. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the pregame for Alabama at Mississippi State coming up. Alabama off their rough win against LSU. We're just going to talk about the game, what I think Alabama should be looking out for, what players to look out for, and who to expect big games from on both sides. And kind of where these teams sit as far as their records and their schedule moving forward. So to start out, I think we should kind of establish Mississippi State, number 14 in the country. Very good basketball team. I'm not going to lie, better than I initially expected them to be this season. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But currently they're sitting at number 14 with a 16-4 record and 4-3 in conference play. And 4-3 might not sound that great, but considering how tough the SEC is this season and how hard it is to get a win, especially on the road, looking at their 4-3 record, it's not that bad when you look into it a little bit deeper and see that those three losses are against Kentucky, Auburn, and Tennessee, which are three of the best teams in the SEC this year by far, in my opinion. Alabama, on the other hand, number 4 in the country currently, a 17-3 record, a 6-1 league record in the SEC. Our three losses being to Purdue, Oregon, and Ole Miss. All three of those teams that we've lost to, I believe, are really, really good basketball teams, and I think that those are three good losses, if that's a thing, for Alabama to have taken. So let's get into some of the notable wins for Mississippi State and what they bring to the table as far as their resume coming into this game. So they've beaten Ole Miss, their in-state rival, which beat Alabama at home. That was a rough game for Alabama, but Ole Miss is also a really good basketball team. So for Mississippi State to snag that win looks really good on their resume, and I think that's definitely going to help them push into that 2 to 3 tier, that 2 to 3 seed tier for March Madness. And I think they're going to be a team to look out for the rest of the season for sure. They also have a win against Vanderbilt, who has beaten Tennessee and Kentucky. 2 huge wins for Vanderbilt, and I don't see why they aren't ranked, and I think they will be ranked going into the next AP Top 25 poll. And then another notable win for Mississippi State is against a team that we played in preseason, and we ended up beating number 24 Memphis. They've been on and off and on, this season. They've gotten a lot of good wins, especially in the Maui tournament. They had some good wins, but they have dropped a few games that I expected them to win pretty easily. So that's one of the things with Memphis this season is their inconsistency, but I do think that Memphis will make the tournament, and I think that that's going to be another team to look out for to maybe steal a few wins in the tournament this season as well. So those are 3 huge wins for Mississippi State. Also, looking into what they've done more recently within SEC play, their last game against South Carolina, although it was a pretty close game, they had 5 players in double figures, which is pretty insane when it comes to college basketball. You don't hear that often, that many players in double figures, 3, 4 maybe. But to get 5 whole players into double figures and one of them not even starting that game is pretty impressive, and it shows how well their offense is running and how well their program is pushing forward right now towards the second half of SEC play. So coming into this season, looking at Mississippi State, their schedule and the roster that they had, I assumed they'd be decent. I figured they'd be pretty good, and I thought they definitely would be a tournament team. But they have played a lot better than I thought they would this season, and they've really meshed. And part of that, in my opinion, is Josh Hubbard, and the way that he's played this season has been outstanding for Mississippi State, and he's been able to help them get a lot of really important wins. I first discovered Josh Hubbard through seeing stuff on social media about Dwayne Wade and him talking in the locker room with the Mississippi State basketball squad, and I read into it a little bit, and it turns out that Josh Hubbard and Dwayne Wade are actually cousins. And so that's kind of how Josh Hubbard came up on my radar as a player to watch. And he's done great this season so far for the Bulldogs, and I think he'll continue. I think he'll continue that over. So now for my predictions for this game. It's really hard to predict which players are going to play well on which night, especially in the SEC. It's really anybody's night each and every game. I do expect really, really good things from Mark Sears coming into this game, considering his poor performance against LSU earlier in the season when we played Illinois, and he sat out the second half voluntarily and finished with 0 points. The next game up, he performed extremely well and answered all those questions about him that were in the Illinois game. I expect the same thing out of him this time around. He's done it time and time again. Comes off a rough game and performs well. I've seen some jokes on Twitter saying that he's going to drop 40, and I think there might be a little bit of truth to that. Maybe not 40, but I definitely think he's going to have an incredibly good game against Mississippi State, and I hope he does. Also, I look for Mohamed Diabate to play well as well. I mean, in 18 minutes, he had 14 points and 6 rebounds against LSU, and he was a big reason for Alabama being able to pull out that win. And I look for him to carry it over. A few games ago, he had his career high. He's playing extremely well right now, a lot of confidence, and I look for him to carry that over, especially in a hostile environment, which it seems that he performs well in. March last season, these away games so far in the SEC schedule that we've played, he's played well in all these hostile environments so far, and I expect him to continue to do so. For Mississippi State, looking at it, Josh Hubbard, one of my favorite players in the SEC coming into it, coming into the season. Maybe a little bit of bias considering Dwayne Wade is his cousin, and I'm a big Dwayne Wade fan. But, I mean, looking at his stats and bias aside, I mean, up at the beginning of the season, up to 150 of his minutes, he had no turnovers for the first 150 minutes. Currently, he's averaging 16.3 points a game, 2.3 rebounds, 3 assists on 38.1% field goal percentage. That's insanely well, and I don't look for a drop off just because he's playing Alabama. If anything, I think he's going to step up and play even better, and on the big stage. Also, Riley Kugel, 10.6 points per game, 2.8 rebounds, 1.4 assists on 46.5% field goal percentage. That's also incredibly well, especially the field goal percentage. He seems to be shooting the ball well. He seems to be getting a lot of production within the minutes that he's given at Mississippi State, and just the same with Hubbard. I don't expect that to drop off just because they're playing Alabama. He seems to be another one of these players for Mississippi State that's playing extremely well right now, being their leading scorer in the game against South Carolina with 15. And I don't expect that to change just because they're playing Bama. It is a home game for Mississippi State, which I think gives them the advantage a little bit, especially on the offensive side of things. And I think they're going to play extremely well, especially these two players. I look for it to be a really, really close game between the two, but ultimately I think, especially with Bama playing a rough game against LSU, I think the Bama squad's going to come out refocused and ready to go. So I think Alabama pulls out the win here. So yeah, that's my pregame breakdown of Alabama at Mississippi State coming up on Wednesday. I look for both teams to play really well. SEC as a whole, as a league, is playing really well right now. And I will catch back up with y'all guys for the post-game breakdown after we see how these guys perform. Roll Tide.